Welcome to the third instalment of our stress list series, which is focusing on our stress triggers. So those things that can trigger us into a stressed state. Okay, so you all know me by now, hopefully. I'm Deb Thorpe, and today we are going to cover what triggers stress, how to deal with those triggers, and then we're going to finish with a negative thought releasing exercise. So it's short and sharp and to the point in this session. We are going to really focus on those things that trigger our stress response and what we can do about it. So how will it feel at the end of this session to know what triggers you and how to deal with those? That's where we're going to be at by the end of this session. Like I said, it's going to be probably around about 20 minutes, I would think, today. So we essentially have two types of triggers. We have external and internal triggers. So external triggers are things like major life changes. Now, these can be positive and negative. Things like moving into a new house is generally quite a positive experience. However, it is up there as being one of the most stressful experiences to go through. Then you've got things like divorce and death of a friend or a loved one. So these are major life changes. Then we have things like our environment. So it could be sudden noises, it could be unexplained noises in the night that suddenly get you really stressed. It could be a noisy neighbour. The restrictions that we're experiencing at the moment, these are all external stressors. We've got things like unpredictable events. So whether that's an unexpected house guest that turns up, bills unexpectedly go up. We're in an unpredictable event at the moment with all of the pandemic. So as you can see already, we are ticking quite a lot of those categories with a lot of what we're experiencing at the moment. We've also got workplace triggers. So it might be that you feel like you've got an impossible workload, you've got urgent deadlines to meet. And then we've got social. So even meeting new people can be, whilst we might be excited and we can see that as a positive thing, it can also come with its own trigger to that kind of nervousness and that stress. And then we've also got family relationships, which they can work alongside being part of our support network as well as being part of a stress. Okay, so the good news about dealing with external triggers is that there's a lot we can do to help our body and our mind deal with that stress. So the first one is looking at our lifestyle. So ensuring that we have as healthy a diet as possible, we are physically getting active and moving, and we're getting enough sleep. So it's not about us being perfectionists in this, but it is about becoming aware of how all of those factors can impact our ability to deal with stressful triggers. So, particularly when it comes to our diet, when we are feeling stressed, we can either deny ourselves food or we can reach to food for comfort. So it's just being aware of, it might be that we don't recognise there's been a stressful trigger, but we do recognise that we're reaching for the comfort food. So we can then start bringing our awareness to that and doing something about it. Another way is socially. Sharing humour with others and connecting with others is a really, really good way of easing the stress. How often have you been in a situation where a situation has been very stressful at the time, and then maybe a week or so later you've been able to get together with friends and you've all been able to laugh about it, and it just releases that stress from the body. So asking for support and help from others is really important. So where you can, ask for support from those around you, those people who love and care for you, and they want to help you. Quite often the people who are most, they seem the most together and the most capable and the strongest people are the ones that struggle to ask for help and support. So, if you recognize yourself as being one of those people, then please get used to asking for the help and the support that you need. And alongside that, learning to become assertive. So being willing to ask for what you want and you need, but also being able to say no. If you've already got a pile of demands on you and you're already stressed, please don't keep saying yes to things that are adding to that pile. Learn to say no. Learn to be okay with not being able to do it all of the time. That's not what we were designed for. And work on being solution focused rather than problem focused. So quite often we can get stuck in a cycle of only focusing on the problem, and that's all we can see. That thinking is not going to get us out of it. We need to switch to being more solution focused and really seeing beyond the problem. Okay, and time management. So we've all got the same 24 hours in a day, and I like to think of these 24 hours as being like 24 horses, and quite often we'll spend our days where we just open the doors and the horses are all like running out and they're going here, there and everywhere, and we spend all day just trying to get them back in and to the fields and the stables that we want them in, and we feel like we're chasing our tails all day. What we want to do is approach it from a place where we have set an intention for those 24 hours. So rather than, these horses running around everywhere, we're taking one out at a time, we're deciding where it needs to go, and it's all organised, and it's so much easier. And lastly, it's energy. So being aware of your own radiators and drains. I can't remember where I first heard this term being used. I've used it for a long, long time. But there are people and situations and places and activities that are radiators and drains. And by that, I mean there are people in your life, along with activities and situations, that give you energy. They radiate optimism. You feel energized by being in the presence of those people or that place. You feel it building you up. And then there's also drains. There's people and places and situations that drain you of your energy. I'm sure we've all got that experience of people and places where it just seems to suck the life out of us. So it might be that we can't get away from certain drains, but we can start becoming aware of their impact and being aware that if we are continually around people and in situations that are draining us, we're going to run out of energy at some point. We need to balance that out with radiator people and activities. So, for example, for me, I find having to sit and do all the bookkeeping and doing the accounts really quite draining. I don't look forward to it. So I sandwich it between two radiator activities, and it just lessens the impact of that. So we also have internal triggers. So these are things that may very well have originally been triggered by something external, but we have carried on that stress internally. And we can also get triggered by things that are going on internally for us. So things like fears. We might have a fear of failure or a fear of public speaking. We might be experiencing some uncertainty with a lack of control and not knowing. There might be our own beliefs about our expectations of ourselves to create the perfect party or be the perfect partner, or to progress along in our career at a certain rate. And our thoughts feed all of those above things. Okay, so we also have the ability where we create our own internal stress. So how to deal with internal triggers? So we have the ability to control our thoughts. So one of the first things that we can do is reframe them. So one of the thoughts that we might have is, I'm so rubbish. And what we can do is reframe that thought and go, where in my life am I doing well right now? Where in my life am I succeeding? And really starting to just change what that thought is telling us. And then we can also challenge our thoughts. So if we've got the thought, for example, I fail at everything, we can challenge it and go, everything? Because that's a big statement, isn't it? I fail at everything. Well, the fact is you're sitting here listening to this now, you've got up, you've made it this far in life, there's no way that you're failing at everything. So we can ask ourselves how specifically, and it forces us to really get specific. And it may be that we might have tried something and that has not worked out for us, but we've learned and we can do it better or differently the next time. And so another thing that we can do alongside that is list all the times that you have indeed succeeded. So we start challenging that belief and really disproving it. So our beliefs are our ingrained thoughts. Okay, so it's literally a case of all beliefs is thoughts that we have told ourselves so many times we believe them. I think quite often we just think beliefs appear, like, I mean, you know, quite often they are given to us by people, you know, that we've grown up with, and parents and teachers and things. But we take them in and they become our beliefs because we keep repeating them. So I've used the photos here of a 5K muddy obstacle race I did a couple of years ago. And it was the weekend that down here in the southwest we had our first snow that we've had in about 20 years. So I went out in the first wave at 9 o'clock, and by the time I'd finished, they had cancelled the event as somebody was being airlifted to hospital with hypothermia. It was the coldest I've ever been in my life. And as you can see from that first image, I was like head to toe in water for the majority of the time. I was absolutely frozen. And I remember being about 3/4 of the way through the obstacle race. So I kept on telling myself, I can't do this, I can't do this, whilst I was still physically jogging around the obstacle course. And I remember catching myself in my thoughts going, where on earth is this belief of I can't do this coming from when I am physically doing it? Now, I might be struggling, this might be painful, there's, you know, I had no choice but to get to the end. I mean, what else was going to happen? So it was in that moment that I caught myself and I just immediately went, how can my brain be telling me I can't do this when I am physically doing it? And I just had this moment of just smiling at myself and going, I can do this. I am doing this. So that's the power of our ingrained thoughts. These things that we tell ourselves when, even in spite of physical evidence that is telling us otherwise. So like I put in that second point, let's move away from thinking whether they are right or wrong. I think that's a discussion that can go on forever about whether your own personal beliefs are right or wrong, and just get curious about them. You know, I don't know where that belief's come from of I can't do this, but the reality of it is I can and I will and I am doing this. So immediately I can challenge that. The thing with beliefs is they are ingrained within us, and they will take more practice to get away from and to change and alter than a thought will. If you imagine just like one single thought, you can tackle that and get rid of that quite quickly. Beliefs might be like a massive clump of thoughts that you've been telling yourself for years and years and years and years and years, and it takes longer for us to unravel that and change that belief. So it's a journey, but it's one that's well worth it. And let me just pose this question to you. How often are you limiting yourself because of the thoughts you tell yourself and the beliefs you hold? So I encounter this a lot with clients, because they are constantly telling themselves, I'm not confident, I don't have any self-esteem, I can't speak in public, I'm no good at fill in the blank. Now imagine you telling yourself that all the time. Your body follows suit, and then it goes, oh well, my mind's telling me that, it obviously must be true. It's not true. It's just a thought that you've repeated enough times that you believe it. It doesn't make it true. So in reality, it all comes back to our relaxed state, and we touched on this a lot in our last training session. So choose activities that prime our body for a relaxed state. Again, it comes back to this discovering your relaxation blueprint. Make it a choice on a daily basis to find those things that bring you into a relaxed state, because from that place, you are going to be far more effective at dealing with your stressful triggers. So it's not very, I won't allow myself to stay in a stress state for too long now. I can be triggered, and I am triggered a lot, but I will immediately go, is this something I can deal with now? What action can I take that is going to make a difference to this situation? And if I can't do anything about that right now, it's like, right, okay, I need to get myself back into a relaxed state. So become aware of our thoughts and our ability to change them. So becoming aware of those things that we tell ourselves is really important, because with awareness becomes this ability to change them, and to then, I mean, honestly, it radically changes our life. If you can get yourself from a place of I'm no good, I'm not confident, I can't do X, Y, and Z, to a place of wow, I feel so much more confident, so much more empowered, and I am really enjoying doing public speaking or whatever it is. You know, imagine how life-changing that is. Okay. And it all comes back to practice, so that it becomes our motorway. And this comes back to the first session of, I remember listening to an interview with Tony Robbins, who spoke about he will only give himself 90 seconds before he will force his mind and his body back into a relaxed state. So, you know, running multiple businesses, there is frequently issues and stresses that pop up, and it's about being able to acknowledge that that's a stressful trigger in the first place, and then working with your mind to shift yourself back into a relaxed state. So it is work in the beginning, it's a continual journey, but it's one that gets easier and easier the more that you do it. So we're going to finish today with releasing your negative thoughts. Now, this is a brilliant exercise. I've been teaching it for many, many years now, and it's it's a really effective way to release negative thoughts. So if you feel like you've been triggered, whether that's externally or internally, and you're struggling to get rid of those negative thoughts in order to move to a more relaxed state, this is the exercise to do. So it's called the balloon activity, and it's best if you get comfortable, close your eyes. We're literally just going to be 2 minutes. Just take a nice deep breath in and breathe out. I already feel my shoulders drop from that one. Take a nice breath in and breathe out. And what we said about deep breathing, just enabling us to switch to that relaxed state. And I just want you to keep your eyes closed, keep nice and relaxed. And just imagine that you're lying in a really beautiful meadow. And the sun is shining, there's a very slight warm breeze, and you are really enjoying just being in this meadow. You know, the green of the grass is so vibrant, maybe there's some butterflies flying around. It just feels a safe place to be. And as you sit up, you notice some balloons that are already filled with air are gradually coming towards you. And they've got some string on the bottom, so you reach out and you grab the first balloon by its string and you pull it towards you. And now I want you to imagine that you are pulling out the first negative thought and you are pushing it into the balloon. So you can either physically use your hand to imagine pulling that thought out and pushing it into the balloon, or you can blow that negative thought into the balloon. Really focus on moving that negative thought out of your head and into that balloon. And then I want you to release the string and let it go. And just watch as that thought just floats away into the distance. And there's another balloon that's come towards you, so you grab that by the string and you place another negative thought or belief into that balloon. Really focus on pushing it into that balloon. And once it's in there, again, release it and watch it as it floats away. Now, there's an endless stream of these balloons for you. So for as long as it takes, you keep on pushing these negative thoughts and beliefs into the balloons and watching as they float away. And with every time that they float away, you become aware of how much lighter you feel. And then just to finish with this exercise, I want you to just imagine that the last balloon that comes towards you is already filled with the most incredible yellowy bright light. And as you bring that last balloon towards you, I want you to just reach in and take that yellow bright white light out. And I want you to imagine pushing that into your chest so that you become that bright white yellowy light. And you can feel it tingling inside. It feels so loving and so calm and so peaceful. And you feel it expand to the whole of your body. And once you've done that, I just want you to slowly open your eyes and come back into the room of where you're at now. So this exercise is a really simple, powerful way of releasing those negative thoughts and then just finishing with this really nice kind of loving, warm energy. And this is one that you can do repeatedly throughout the day. And it's a really good way of getting those negative thoughts out of your head. Okay. So, in summary, to finish, there will always be triggers. So even positive events can trigger our stress response. So I think when we're in times of stress, we just long for a time when we can live our lives in this amazingly peaceful bubble and we're never ever going to experience stress. I'm really sorry to be the bearer of bad news. That's not possible. There will always be triggers. However, we have control over our thoughts and they shape our beliefs, which in turn affects our state. So we can take control of our thoughts, we can take control of our beliefs, and they in turn will affect whether we feel in a stressed or relaxed state. And again, coming back to our relaxation state is key. So in our next session, we're going to be focusing on emotions. So emotions can feel totally overwhelming, and we're going to be looking at what emotions really are and how we manage them effectively. I think a lot of people really try and avoid emotions because they can feel quite strong, and the thing is, emotions are there regardless of whether we want them to be or not. So dealing with them effectively is a huge step in us responding to stress in a healthy way.